Today I have 16 Glitch in the Matrix and supernatural stories for you. Just how reliable is our perception of reality? Let's find out. Case file number 2143, written by The Night Tyrant 21. Mark lost in digital purgatory. There was a dude I'll call Mark that sat at the other end of my lunch table. This was during freshman and sophomore years of high school. He was older than me and my friend group, and being the little gremlins we were, we used to give him a hard time. He graduated and we never saw him again. This was around 2007. About 10 years ago, I was bored at work and web stalking people from high school. I found Mark's obituary in my family's local paper. Not believing it, I found his Facebook, and there's dozens upon dozens of condolences posted, including messages from the family thanking everyone for their kindness. I remember being a little shocked by it, because I wasn't from a huge school and none of my classmates had passed yet. It wasn't outright surprising. Mark did a ton of substances, but it had a profound effect on me. I remember talking to my older boss about it, and privately toasting to him with another friend. It stayed on my mind for weeks. I even considered belatedly sending his parents a card. Anyway, I was bored at work again yesterday and web stalking people, and I got a hankering to read Mark's obit. I don't know why, but I felt compelled to just look at it again and reminisce. But after an hour, I couldn't find it for the life of me. The newspaper has no record of it. His Facebook account is deleted. Nothing comes up on Google, except for a People Finder sort of entry for someone matching his details in Ocala, Florida. All records of his death have disappeared. Mark is an easy-to-Google guy. His full name was very unique. His brother was in my grade. He had a very distinct appearance. I should be able to find some information on him. Eventually, I fell down the rabbit hole and found his dad's Facebook, and his profile picture was of Mark and brother apparently taken on a family vacation in 2019. And it's definitely Mark. He looks like a 15-plus-year-old version of his high school self. I'm stumped. I could have sworn this dude was gone. I'm still not super convinced he's alive. I don't know what to think. Case file number 2144, written by Jess and Woody. A slow ride, then gone like the tide. For context, I'm a dog walker living on the west coast of Scotland. It was a rainy, miserable day sometime in August, and I had about 5 dogs in my van to take on a group walk. And as it was raining, I decided to take them to the beach, as it would likely be empty on such a crappy day. As I turned off into the quarter-mile track leading down to the beach, I caught up with another car that was driving down there as well. I'll admit, I was a bit peeved because I was hoping to get the beach to myself. But there are 2 bays, separated by a load of rocks you cannot cross easily, with 2 separate paths leading down to them from the car park of this particular beach. So I figured I'd let these guys park up and see which bay they wanted to go on, and I would go on to the other bay. As I followed the car into the otherwise empty car park, I immediately pulled into the first space on the right, whilst the car I was following appeared to carry on driving right to the end of the car park. About 30 to 40 yards long, it's a small car park, more of a field, but whatever. I turned my engine off and looked out of my passenger side window, and the car was still driving along. I gave it a minute and leaned over to look out the window again, and the car was just inching forwards, as if it was finally about to stop. I waited a bit longer, expecting to hear the sound of car doors opening and shutting, but I didn't hear anything. So I leaned forwards and looked again, and the car was still inching forwards as though it was just about to stop. It had seemed to be just about to stop forever at this point, but it didn't strike me as that odd. I was just getting impatient, wanting them to get out and pick a beach and leave me to myself. At this point, the dog started to whine, presumably a bit confused as to why I had just parked up and sat there and not letting them out. So I decided to get out and open the back doors of the van to placate them. They're created so they wouldn't be able to jump out. So I got out and walked around to the back of my van, glanced over to the car that was still just slowly pulling into its car parking space. At this point, I'm still not thinking anything is off. I just thought this is the slowest driver in the world, and I'm getting a bit impatient. And I just want to get on as I have a busy day. After glancing at the car, I opened my back doors. Roughly would have taken half a second, maybe 1 second. And I look back at the car again, and it has vanished. There's no sign of it. There is no way out at the other end of the car park. The only way out was the way we both came in, which would have required the car to turn around and drive past me. And I know this wasn't possible because, 1, there simply wasn't enough time for it to have turned around and drove past in half a second to 1 second. 2, I would have definitely heard it do so, as it would have been driving along the track about 1 meter behind me. 3, I would have seen it driving back up the quarter-mile track that we'd just driven down, and I looked back up there and there were no vehicles. It's hard to convey just how impossible this actually is without you fully understanding the layout of the beach car park, but believe me, this is just impossible. Does anyone have an idea of what happened? The closest thing I can come up with is a time slip. However, people usually report feeling strange when losing time, and also going back significantly in time, whereas I felt nothing but irritation at how long the car was taking to park. Though in retrospect, the fact that I glanced at it several times over the course of about 2 minutes, and it was always just pulling up to its spot every time, was a bit strange. And the car was pretty modern. It was a Ford Mondeo Estate car with a roof box on it. I didn't make a note of the year, but definitely under 10 years old. On a positive note, I got the beach to myself though. Any ideas? Well, yeah, I think this is just a space-time portal. The car that you saw was trapped by the effects of the portal, warping around the time on it, and then eventually when it crossed it, it just vanished, but really it just was ported probably a few miles away. From their perspective, that was a glitch and a half. Case file number 2145, written by KJN. A long, weird day at the bank. I have lived and worked in China for 12 years now. I lost my phone about a year ago, and there was trouble with using my account with Bank 1, B1, with a new number. So I switched to using Bank 2, B2. 9 months later, I went in to close my account with B1. Any banking in China can take several hours, and you sit in front of a thick glass divider and pass documents through a portal. So anyways, as it progresses, they ask for my B1 bank card. I looked through all my wallet and did not have it, but I did have my passport and I knew the PIN number, so we proceeded with the process. I figured I had just left it in another purse, and while frustrated, I was glad we could still close the account. After a while, they asked if I had any bank card with me. Who knows why, it's China. So I got out my B2 bank card and passed it to them. After about another half hour and sitting and passing the time scrolling through my phone, signing different things, as asked, we were done. As we were ending, they are passing back all the papers, my passport and so on. During this time, I had looked through my wallet several times, just double checking that I didn't have my B1 bank card. So after they gave me everything back, they said they would cut up the bank card for me. No, that is the bank card for B2, I need that one. They hold up the card to show me it is the B1 bank card that I did not have before and definitely did not give them. So I looked in my wallet and there was the B2 bank card, the one that I had given them about 30 to 40 minutes earlier. I didn't know what to think, so I just said okay, gathered my things and left. I know I did not have that B1 bank card, and even went back and looked through the messages on WeChat, translates messages for me, and I see the request for any bank card from the bank. I was thinking I must be losing my mind, but after 9 months with no further symptoms, did I experience a glitch in the Matrix? Yep. Enjoy. Case file number 2146, written by Average White Guy 114. Sherpa surprise, Zipper on the rise. A month ago, I bought a new jacket to wear for the cold winter weather, and also because I live in the Pacific Northwest, something that will be okay to wear in the rain. I decided on a Calvin Klein jacket that was all black, had 2 pockets in the usual hand spots, a CK logo on the left arm, and the zipper was on the left side of the jacket instead of the right side. I know that for a fact because every time I would zip up my jacket to go to work, I'd think about how much I disliked the zipper being on the left side and not the right. I know that's usually on women's jackets, but someone found the exact jacket I bought originally, and it is the men's. I wore the jacket every day while at work, and I never took it off while at work. It's too cold these days, and I go outside of my work building multiple times a day. None of my coworkers have a Calvin Klein jacket, and they even poked fun at me for it when they saw the brand. So it's established that I never take my jacket off at work, and none of my coworkers also have a Calvin Klein jacket. Keep these 2 things in mind. Tonight, I decided to wash the jacket with some other black clothes of mine. I had to remove the things that are always in my pockets at work before I could wash the jacket, which are 1 pack of gum, a pen that is from a unique pen set that only I own at work, and a small travel-sized bottle of cologne that I spray myself with every few hours. So now I've established that I didn't mistakenly take a coworker's jacket, because my daily carry items were in the left pocket where they always are. And remember, none of my coworkers have a Calvin Klein jacket. I take the clothes out of the dryer and grab the jacket because my wife wants to go out for dinner. I then get thoroughly confused. This isn't my jacket. This imposter jacket that I pulled out of the dryer has a bright white stripe going down the jacket, right next to the zipper. The zipper is now on the right side of the jacket. The CK logo that was on the left arm is now a full Calvin Klein logo. And the inside of the jacket is Sherpa lined. My jacket was all black with no white stripes. The zipper was on the left side. The arm logo only said CK, and my jacket was not Sherpa lined. I then have a mini mental breakdown where I question reality. I called my wife's dad just in case he owns a Calvin Klein jacket, and mistakenly left it at my house the last time they were over. And he says he does not own a Calvin Klein jacket, and like I stated before, I had removed my personal items from the pockets before placing them in the washing machine. None of my coworkers have a Calvin Klein jacket. I never take my jacket off at work. I then looked at the website of the store I bought it from, and my jacket apparently doesn't exist. Only this new Sherpa-lined and right-side zipper jacket is on the website. This is also literally the only big fancy brand clothing item I own. All of my other clothing is cheap stuff from Target or Fred Meyer. So I know I'm not mistaking it for another jacket I own. I bought it about a month ago and wore it every single day. I'm so confused. I explained the situation to my coworkers, and they also think that I'm wearing a different jacket. They agree that my original jacket just had a CK on the sleeve, and that the zipper was on the left. So I was thinking quantum immortality, but no, if your coworkers remember it too, then it's just a multiverse switcheroo. Your jacket is now from a different universe. A different quantum signature. Case file number 2147, written by In a Dying World. Empty road, then 3. A backward spree. This happened about a week ago, but I can't seem to get it out of my head because it's just so puzzling. It was about 6:30 p.m. at night. I was sitting at my desk at the window, which looks out onto a busy carriageway. I can see just under a kilometer stretch of the road from my window. Usually, the road is full of cars going both ways until about 1 a.m. where it gets quieter. Very rarely are there no cars on the road, especially during rush hour. Anyway, you get the point. The road is busy. By 6:30 p.m., it was pitch black outside, and occasionally, I would look up from my laptop and see the heavy stream of car headlights in the distance. The next time I look up, the road was completely empty. This caught my attention because it was rush hour, and it should be busy as hell. Then coming north down the road, heading south, were 3 headlights of 3 cars. It took me a few seconds for it to click, but the headlights were where the brake lights would normally be at, the back of the car. All 3 cars were the same. All 3 cars were driving south, but were facing like they should be driving north, essentially driving backwards. I could tell, since I could see the faint outlines of the car under the moonlight, and the faint glow of the red brake lights, which were facing south, where the headlights should be. I watched them closely because I was so confused, until they continued driving to a point where I couldn't see them anymore. The entire time they were driving, the road was empty, and then as soon as they disappeared, the road suddenly filled with traffic again, the usual traffic. This is the first time something like this has happened to me, and I've not seen it since. It was kinda eerie because all 3 cars were driving at the same speed, around 60 miles per hour, and the space between the cars never changed. I first thought it could be a car towing another car, but they were too far apart for this to be the case. And even if this is what was happening, wouldn't the leading car be facing the right way? I wasn't sleep deprived or anything like that. Case file number 2148, written by Lauren Denelf. From Used to New, a mystery ensued. For Thanksgiving, my husband and I went to my parents' house a few hours away and stayed for a few days. I had packed a bag of makeup for our stay, including my favorite lipstick, Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb Stick in Fenty Glow. This lipstick had been purchased on September 14th, plenty of time for me to use it and love it before Thanksgiving. When we came back from Thanksgiving, I unpacked my makeup bag as usual. A couple of days after getting back, I went to use my favorite lipstick and I couldn't find it anywhere. I do have a significant amount of makeup, so I figured it could be lost in all my lipsticks, or maybe I'd put it in a purse for an outing, or maybe it fell out in my car. I just remember I had packed it for our Thanksgiving trip. Well, over a month passed, and I could never find it. My husband helped me look through the car and our house for it. I almost bought a replacement because I love it so much. I was really missing wearing that particular shade. But I thought, as soon as I buy another one, I'm going to find it. Sure enough, I made a purchase at Ulta and resisted the urge to replace it. The next day, I found my favorite lipstick. The lipstick was in the makeup bag I had packed for Thanksgiving, but in a front pocket I don't usually use. I pulled out the lipstick and opened it, and was absolutely floored to find it unused. I know it was unused because this type of lipstick has the brand logo stamped into the top of the lipstick. The lipstick formula is very thin, so once you use the lipstick once, the brand stamp disappears. Here was my favorite lipstick, the one I had missed wearing, and it was brand new, never used. I just sat there trying to think, how is that even possible? There's no way, unless I never used lipstick, but I have memories of using it and loving it. Loving it so much I was wanting to spend $25 to replace it. I went to show my husband the stamp and everything. He thought it was super weird too. I just don't understand how that happened. Feels very much like a glitch in the Matrix. Case file number 2149, written by Comprehensive Ask 5533. Time like tinfoil under a blinking sun. In the Northeast Appalachians, about 50 years ago, we had a map. We were on a minor 2-lane state highway with road signs traveling north from New York State. We weren't even in the notoriously creepy part of those mountains. There was a junction with another road with a settlement, village, maybe a half mile that way. We could see a few houses, a gas station, a store and a cafe combination, but we didn't go that way. About 10 minutes later, we went by that stuff on that road, still driving north. The state highway was behind us. We hadn't turned or changed direction on a Y or anything. My husband asked if we wanted to stop at the cafe. No, we did not. We'd already encountered time distortions up there and now a space-time distortion. And the idea of walking into places where time and space was crinkled, like thrown away tinfoil, seemed like a really stupid thing to do. A couple of decades later, driving by myself through Southeast California, the Mojave Desert showed me 2 places that were, then weren't there, and a third one that was supposed to be there but wasn't at all. Except there were current photos of it in assorted print media. This stuff is like layers when you look at a USGS map with the current weather superimposed on it. Except the layers are realities, not today's weather. You simply never know where reality will twist you towards. Very true on that. Case file number 2150, written by Ellie Rolls 18. My dog, her secret, a wisdom beyond reason. My dog is pretty smart. She knows how to push open doors with her muzzle. She knows a lot of commands, even though she's never been professionally trained. My dog is a mix of Newfoundland and Lab. About 10 years ago, when she was maybe 2, I brought her into the house to wash her. She loves the water, but doesn't like baths for some reason. Started running somewhat warm water into the bathtub to bathe her. I left to get the special dog shampoo. She will cooperate with me long enough to bathe her. I walked back into the room to find her paw wrapped around the dial that controls the water. She literally turned the hot water off. Then put her paw on the other dial and turned the water off completely. She seemingly had some kind of paw-hand hybrid as she was able to grip the dial. I was shocked and called out to her. She turned around and looked at me and then laid down, as if she didn't want me to see her doing that. She has not done anything like that since, at least when a human is around. And she has normal paws that shouldn't be able to grip things like a human can. Dogs, man, they have secrets. They really do. Case file number 2151, written by Imaginary Win 9217. The ape disappears with the librarian's fears. So I got the book The Murderer's Ape through my school library on a Friday. The librarian specifically talked to me about how she liked the book, that it was chosen to be translated to English from Swedish. The period after next, I realize I don't have it. No big deal, I'm known for losing items, and my previous period's teacher is known for a mini lost and found near the back. Every Friday, the school emails you any books you have checked out by the end of the day, if you have any. I received no such email. The next day, the book is not in that class. I went to the library to tell them about me losing the book and the lack of an email, and they have no record of the book, no stand where it was yesterday, and the librarian had no idea what book it was, let alone the minutia they knew the day before. It has been months and I've gotten no emails or delayed charges. To be clear, it was the same librarian both times. There was some rightful confusion on the matter. Case file number 2152, written by No Resolution 4037, Elderly Error and the Berry Bearer. To set the scene, I was in line to check out and ahead of me was a couple I would guess were in their 80s. The man had a terrible hunchback that kept him always kinda looking down. They're unloading the cart behind a plastic belt divider. Ahead of the belt divider were items that had not yet been scanned for the people who were ahead of the people already ahead of me. It was at this point the older lady was focused on foisting something from the bowels of her comparatively enormous Costco grocery cart. Her husband reached into their cart and with one hand grasped what appeared to be 1 or 2 stacked plastic berry crates, blueberries or something like that, and then leaned over the belt and placed them ahead of the belt divider. I saw what happened, and I'm pretty sure the old guy just didn't see where he had dropped them. The cashier is still checking out items for the people next ahead in line, and then reaches for the berry crates. I gestured and said out loud, "Are you sure those are your groceries?" And everyone looked at me like I was being weird. A woman in the berry receiver party looked at me, heard what I said, and then looked down to see the berries in the hands of the clerk. The berry crates were then scanned, and went into the cart of the folks who had just checked out. Now the older couple ahead of me were next to check out. I came alongside the older couple again as there were 2 receipt verification lines. I asked the older lady again, "Didn't you have some berries or something like that?" And she was like, "Nope, we didn't." She didn't put off any negative or defensive body language to make me think it was just a reflexive reply. So what the hell happened? By the way, I could tell the berry crate givers and berry crate receivers didn't know each other. So in summary, with my 2 eyeballs, I saw the older guy take from his wife and his cart, and I also saw the people ahead of them pay for the berries and depart with them. Berries that they didn't have in their cart. Very strange. Case file number 2153, written by Objective Sense 2831. Engraved in Mystery, a Juul's Odyssey. My friend and I were avid mountain bikers. We did an awesome road trip to Northern California this summer. Outside of Eureka, there is a cool trail system called Lax Creek. We stayed there for a few days and rode the trails. Anywho, I lost my Juul on a ride. A Juul had laser engraved with my initials and a unique design. For those who don't know, a Juul is a kind of vape. A few days later, we found ourselves in the Grove of the Titans in the Redwoods, pretty sure, 100 miles away. Along the path, there was a hollow stump with a small crouch entrance, which we went into. Glancing around, I noticed a Juul perched upon the interior of the stump. I picked it up to discover this was my Juul that I had lost, no less than 100 miles away. Still laser engraved with the pod as I had left it. This itself being a complete mindfreak made me quit vaping, and I still wonder to this day the mechanism behind the forest borrowing my Juul. No other mind-altering substances were involved. Will likely be my life's greatest mystery. To add, no way my friend could have possibly been involved. It fell or manifested its way out of my pocket on a ride in which he was in front of me. And in the grove, I was the first to enter the tree. I had eyesight on him the whole time. Second cool detail. It was placed inside the tree, right side up, about eye level on a small ledge in the bark. What was also strange is the grove in question is a busy, famous grove in the Redwoods. Why I was the one to stumble upon my own Juul is surprising. Also of note, just in case somehow a stranger was responsible for leaving it there, if I had dropped it on the ride, Lax Creek is a lonely, lonely place. We only saw one person the 3 days we were there. And if I had dropped it on the trail, these are fast-riding DH mountain biking trails only. Bizarre if someone were to find it. Case file number 2154, written by Fiona Ellis. Darkness flew, but only we two knew. Around a year and a half ago, I was at work and was sitting at my PC. My colleague was sitting opposite me and was also working away at their PC. We work in an open plan office, and there were maybe 25 people in the office that day, all lights on and PCs were on. Out of nowhere, everything went pitch black for a split second, like someone had turned off the lights and instantly turned them all back on. Lights and PCs were still turned on, so there wasn't a power outage, and nobody else seemed to notice anything. I asked her, "Did you see that?" Which she replied she did. We asked our other colleague, who looked at us like we were absolutely insane. She said she hadn't seen anything. Everyone else in the office had carried on working like nothing had happened. We didn't think too much of it. It was kind of like a, that was weird. Anyway, back to work moment. Then mid-2024, the same thing happened again, and like before, we were the only two who noticed. Again, all lights and PCs were still turned on, and nobody else had seen or experienced it. We again asked our boss, who once more hadn't seen anything. She was probably considering sending us for a psych review at this point. Still to this day, baffles us. It's known as the sun blinking out, but really it's all processes cease for a split second. But it only impacts a very small area. Case file number 2155, written by Independent Cat Lover. Black on Light Wood, a mystery withstood. 2 weeks ago, I was looking for my wireless speaker to sync it with my projector. The last time I had seen it was in the kitchen, so I cleared the counters and the table to see if I could find it. It wasn't there, so I checked every room where I might have used it. I live alone and haven't had anyone visiting in a year, so there's no chance of anyone else using it. I searched again the next day and found nothing, so I stopped looking. Yesterday, I was clearing the table from the accumulated junk, and lo and behold, my speaker was right there in the middle of the table, where I had just removed a receipt from the grocery store. If it had been there before, I definitely would have seen it. The table is a light wood color, the speaker is black, the receipt is white. It would have been visible. Plus, the receipt looked like it was flat on the table, not on top of anything else. Case file number 2156, written by Pleiadian Paladin, Jane Fonda's Glitchy Mamba. My wife has a Jane Fonda exercise DVD. She loves that thing. When she moved to live with me, the only DVD player I had was this little old laser brand player with an AV out, no HDMI. I went to a decent amount of trouble trying to get a compatible TV. Eventually found an old Voxtron on the side of the road with an AV in. Fast forward 18 months, when we move house and we get a new smart TV, forgetting about the DVD player needing AV. I go to plug it in and I need some kind of AV to HDMI adapter. I tried a couple of various other adapters that I had and they didn't work. I needed a proper one. Then I found an old AV USB capture card. I can set that up on my laptop and stream to the TV instead of capturing. A hassle, but it'll work. Go to plug in the capture card at the DVD player. There's an HDMI out port smack bang in the middle of the DVD player. The AV ports are off to the side now. All of my what? Case file number 2157, written by Suns and Rise. Brace for the end, but then reality did bend. On October 7th, 2022, I was driving home from work at around 11:30 p.m. I was going about 75 miles per hour on the highway when a truck, driving on the wrong side of the highway with no headlights, came over a slight hill directly towards me, head on. I remember screaming and having no time to swerve as I closed my eyes and braced for impact. Everything happened so fast. After I quickly opened my eyes, I found myself driving on a completely different part of the same highway. I've been commuting on this exact route since 2018, and I know the landmarks by heart. I immediately knew something was off. Before the car crash, I was still 30 minutes away from my house. After I was teleported, I was only 5-ish minutes away from my house. I genuinely can't explain how this happened. Even though this happened in 2022, I still vividly think about it quite often. I sometimes even jokingly think a part of me died that night and shifted realities, because my life has been different in weird and subtle ways ever since. Case file number 2158, written by Trekkie Gamer 359. A juicer's Hocus Pocus. I have a juicer that sits on my counter. When it's put together, the plunger that pushes food into the juicer sticks up quite a bit. For the past year, I've had to keep the plunger out of the juicer when I'm not using it, because it's so tall that I can't open the upper cabinet above the juicer. The plunger would stick up about an inch higher than the bottom of the cabinet, and the cabinet door would bang into it if you tried to open it with the plunger in. Well, I just moved the juicer to thoroughly clean the counter, and when I put it back, the plunger is now lower. The top of the plunger is now an inch lower than the bottom of the cabinet, and I can open the cabinet just fine. I've shown another family member I live with, and she's flabbergasted too. She knew as well as I that the plunger was taller than the cabinets. It's irked both of us this past year. Well, it's just not too tall anymore. Juicers don't normally shrink, nor do installed kitchen cabinets. So the only explanation we can think of is that the fabric of space just shifted somehow. At least our juicer fits in the space now. Yeah, I gotta focus on those silver linings, huh? Now time for the jokes of the day. Joke 1. I met a girl on Tinder whose bio had the quote, "If I was meant to be controlled, I would have come with a remote." Joke's on her. I've been turning off women for years without a remote. Impressive. Joke number 2. There are more hydrogen atoms in a single molecule of water than there are stars in our entire solar system. Well, this one just makes you think. Got 'em. Joke number 3. My daughter told me that when she grows up, she wants to work for the Postal Service. I said that's a great idea, but it'll be tough working in such a male-dominated environment. Huh? Joke 4. I went on a walk into an enchanted forest to try and cut down a talking tree. "You can't cut me down," the tree exclaims. "I'm a talking tree." I responded, You may be a talking tree, but you will die a log. Joke number 5. I phoned my wife earlier and asked her if she wanted me to pick up fish and chips on my way home from work. She just grunted at me. I can tell she regrets letting me name the twins. Fish and chips. Oh man, I could never name my kids that because then I'd always be hungry. Terrible idea. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.